There we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Mental Health Monday here on Even Tacos Fall Apart. I am really excited to talk about something tonight that I don't think we've covered on this show before. We've been doing this show for a long time, and I'm not positive. I would have to go back and look, but I'm pretty sure we haven't really talked about employee well-being programs before, but we are going to talk about it tonight. I am joined by Mark DeCarlo, and our topic is exactly that. We're going to be talking about how employee well-being programs pay for themselves. But a little bit about Mark. He is an Emmy award-winning comedian, a best-selling author, and the voice of Hugh Neutron from Jimmy Neutron. Also does some voice acting for games. We were just chatting about that. But Mark is here because of something that happened when he was a high school freshman. He had a near-death experience that gave him a midnight epiphany in his ICU bed. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. He lost 80 pounds in 6 months and discovered something really powerful about the connection between well-being and wellness and success. And since then, he has hosted a Travel Channel series that took him to over 400 cities, which is a very high amount, working with everyone from C-suite executives to chefs and entrepreneurs. And he really noticed that whether it was a restaurant, a startup, or a Fortune 500 company, the problems were the same. You had burned out, unmotivated teams across the board. So now he helps companies understand that employee wellness isn't a nice to have and that it actually pays for itself. So we are going to talk about how happiness really became his business. So Mark, thank you so much for joining me here and for bringing your energy to Even Tacos Fall Apart.
Mama, it's so wonderful to be here, myself and my energy as well, the two of us. I'm thrilled to be here, going out live on the interweb. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. If y'all are looking to connect with Mark, I'm going to post a couple of links for you. Feel free to go ahead and reach through there, grab the website link, and connect with him on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, any of those. Go interact with some of his posts. Make sure you get him in your algorithm so you see him over and over and over. But while folks are trying to connect with you there, Mark, what inspired you to start sharing your story through your content and your speaking?
I've been doing entertainment and comedy for so long, since college, really. And because of the Travel Channel show and other shows that I've hosted, um, I get called upon to do keynote speeches and MC corporate events. And I've noticed over the years that the successful businesses that I'm working with, they're very similar in uh, the skill set, tool set you need to be a successful business person is the same that it is to be a successful improviser. I've come to realize that business is improvised. Anytime you're trying to think out of the box or create something new, you're by definition improvising something new. If you just keep rehashing the same old stuff, you get nowhere. And most companies don't do a lot of training in creativity and improvisation and in uh, team building towards the goal of initiating creative thought and perpetuating creative thought. And a lot of people are uncomfortable with even the word improvisation because they're fearful. And in my opinion, the fear emotion is always and only self-destructive. There's no reason to be fearful of anything. You can be cautious, don't jump in front of a bus, but fear limits you. It has you perform well below your potentials, and it's just a waste of time. Most of the time, it's stuff that we're making up in our head that we're afraid of. So I noticed the synergies between performing and improvising and business, and started talking about them, and people seem to really respond. And it's also a fun thing for people in offices to do these kind of classes and coaching with me. And it's fun to see timid people or people that are afraid to speak up at meetings gaining the confidence to do that. And as a leader, you want to be able to harvest ideas from everyone on your team. If there are people that are too fearful to contribute, you may be losing out on quality ideas and information. So it's a top to bottom communication system and process that I think everyone can benefit from. Taking even from anybody, like if you want to be an actor, a writer, director, a business person, the concept of improvisation and listening is I think the most essential one there is.
I don't know that I would have made the connection between the creative thinking and the improvisation from like a comedy standpoint. You know, those two things, I'm sure in your world, in your mind, they go together like of course they do. From a different side of things, I don't know that I ever would have really connected those two as something that feeds into one another. Do you get a lot of that? Does it surprise other people whenever you're like, we're going
It
to talk about
does.
improv in a workplace?
Yeah, it does. And literally just saying the word, I sometimes I just see people tense up and they, oh, I could never do that. I could
Hmm.
never. I'm like, we've been doing it for 20 minutes. You've been
Yeah.
talking for 20. We're improvising. That's what it is. The difference between teaching people improvisational techniques for business and doing it as a comedic performer is if I'm one of the founders of the Second City here in Santa Monica, which is the famous improv school out of Chicago, where I'm from. Uh, and the when I'm improvising on stage in a show, I'm improvising as a plumber or a doctor or whatever the audience yells out. So I have to be in the scene and not think like Mark, but think like a doctor or a plumber would and then respond that way. In business, you just have to be yourself. And by improvising and becoming fearless, you can become more and more of yourself.
Kind of early in your life into the entertainment industry and into comedy, how did you always just were you always just a funny guy? Was that something that came very naturally to you? How'd you get into that as a career?
I think so. I think I have two younger brothers, and though they would disagree, I'm the funniest of the three. And it's just something I've always, I think, gravitated towards. I used to watch comedy shows more than sports. I enjoyed Warner Brothers cartoons, the Chuck Jones era,
Mhm.
um, some of the best American comedies ever made, and it's just uh, I enjoy it. You know, I try and do things that make me happy. When I was in high school, my best friend's older siblings were both on the main stage at Second City, so we were 13, 14 years old, and we would sneak into this 21 and over club and watch them making up stuff on stage, doing funny skits. And then when I found out they were getting paid, I'm like, that's the job for me. And I never really seriously considered another career, really. So I've
Mhm.
kind of circled back to corporate work and industry through entertainment when I realized that they're essentially the same thing.
Yeah, yeah. Wound up in a more traditional role on accident, kind of roundabout channel a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm still doing a lot of comedy and cartoons and
Mhm.
entertainment stuff, but the corporate world, especially now with AI and all the turnover and tumult in the corporate world, it needs. I think it needs folks like me, and luckily, there's lots of us out here doing this.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Do you have a favorite book or one that you feel more folks should take the time to read?
When I was in grade school, I was reading Catch 22 by Joseph Heller, and it got stolen by the where is it? It's here somewhere. This is my original Catch 22. It kept getting confiscated by my teachers at my Catholic school because they said it wasn't appropriate for me. Although I think it is the perfect metaphor for the American condition. I also love John Steinbeck's Travels with Charlie.
Mm.
It's got one of the greatest opening chapters, opening paragraphs in American literature. And John Steinbeck is one of the greatest American authors. And the book was written in 1961, 62. So he decided to take a road trip. He had written Grapes of Wrath and lots of other big books of Mice and Men. And he wanted to do something different. So he got a pickup truck, covered pickup truck, took his dog Charlie, and was going to drive around the country. I think he had been already diagnosed with lung cancer, and I think
Mm.
this was kind of his big last hurrah. And it's one of our greatest writers doing a road trip book before the interstate system comes online. So it's if you wanted to go from Chicago to LA, you did it on Route 66. You didn't do it on I-40 and I-5 and the 405. So it's kind of a snapshot of America at a time right before it became more homogenized, which is what it is now. And it's just a great, it's this big. It's a great book. Travels with
Yeah.
Charlie. But I would say I'd put Travels with Charlie above uh, Catch 22 just because it's more Americana and a little more hopeful than Catch 22.
Which one have you personally read more times? Like, how many times have you read each one?
I've probably read Travels with Charlie more, but I was thinking I should like do another lap on Catch 22 just because of all the things that are going on in the world. It might be illuminating. And plus, the first time I read it, I don't know, 10 or how old are you in sixth grade when Mr. Mueller kept stealing my book? Um,
Yeah,
so I'm sure
so
I would read it now and, get a lot of different ideas out of it.
yeah, 12 years old is quite a difference
Mm.
than being an adult. I have a couple of series where I've read them a couple of times in my life, and reading them as a teenager versus a young adult versus a more adultier adult versus now middle age. The last time I read through them, I was like, wow, I think a lot differently than I used to think, because I can remember how that book was making me feel, what kind of it was kicking me into, and it changes quite a bit over your life. It's always interesting to go back and reread books that you're very
Yeah, isn't
familiar
that
with
cool? I mean,
already.
you
Yeah,
follow an artist as the art is static, but you change, you develop, and you grow around it, and you
yeah.
get different things out of it at different stages in life. I think that that's one of the hallmarks of a great piece of art that you can, if you experience it 10 years later, 5 years later, it hits you in a different way and gets your brain working in a different way.
Yeah, 100% agree with
Although
that.
the Warner Brothers cartoons are still the same, they're still hilarious. So,
Okay,
and I consider them high art.
but if you go back and watch some of them now, you'll pick up on some jokes that you didn't get when you were a kid.
Oh, that is for sure. Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
that is for
I love
sure.
that. Watching some cartoons as a parent, whenever my kids are watching them, and I'm like, oh my God, that was really funny, and they have no reaction to it, and I'm like, oh,
Hmm.
they didn't pick up on that at all.
I get that a lot when I do the Comic Cons as Hugh Neutron. A
Yeah.
lot of parents will come up to me and go, "Thank you for this show because I can sit and watch it with my kids because we very consciously put in jokes that grown-ups would like along with jokes that kids would get." Because a lot of my friends with kids, they tell me they watch these really dumb, stupid
Hmm.
little cartoons for their kids, and it's mind-numbing, and the kids wants to watch them 20 times in a row. So we try and sprinkle little Easter eggs of adult insight and humor, and then they'll quote lines back to me at a Comic Con that I have no recollection of ever uttering.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Yeah, it was in episode 14 when you went to the pants store and you got too big and Jimmy got." I'm like, "All right, well, if you heard it, I'm sure I said it.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
remember."
No, that's great. Yeah. No, from as a parent, I definitely appreciate the jokes that the kids aren't going to care about, but the parents have to sit there and watch it too, for sure. So
Yeah.
I want to go back a little bit further in your life. So when you were 14 years old, you were in this ICU bed. What was the epiphany that you had, and how did it really connect wellness to purpose for you?
I probably wouldn't have used those words at the time just because I wasn't
Hmm.
cognizant of what was happening. I was a really fat kid in high school, and this particular semester, we had already finished the play for the season. I would do, I was in the drama club in high school, which at my high school was a cool thing. So was marching band. It was a great, great
I
high
love
school.
it. Yeah.
Benedict Academy in Lyle, Illinois. So I was at first day of track practice, and you know how when you throw a shot put, you spin, and then you're supposed to throw it straight. This freshman threw it that way, and the
Oh no.
16-pound shot put hit me in the back. It broke my ribs. It popped my spleen. I started bleeding out. I didn't know it. They took me to the hospital. Uh, I was out for 3 or 4 days. And the first thing I remember when I woke up after this surgery where my spleen had popped and they had to go in and sew it up, the doctor sticks his head in the room and goes, "Hey, you're awake. Good thing. Another 10 minutes, you would have been dead. See you
Oh
later."
my God.
So you don't think about mortality when you're 14, 15 years old.
Hmm.
And and he said it so I can see his silhouette in the hospital doorway. He said it so glibly and so like, "Oh, well, you win some, you lose some." Um, it really landed on me, and I started thinking, yeah, I suppose I could die any day. And I decided if I'm going to die any day, I want to make sure that every day I live is as enjoyable as possible. And I think at that moment, I kind of fixed as the North Star of my life happiness and fun. You know, a lot of people want to make as much money as they possibly can. A lot of
Hmm.
people want to have a lot of possessions. I want to have a big house. I want to have this, that, and you know, whatever you make your North Star, that's what you're going to end up with because that's what you're chasing. So I instinctively just thought, you know what? I like laughing. I like having fun. I'm gonna always do the thing that I think at the moment will bring me more happiness. And I started making my decisions more effectively along those lines. Instead of just stumbling into things, I would ask, well, if I do this, is it going to make me happier or less happy? And then I realized you're a 250-pound fat ass in high school and no girls will talk to you or go out with you. And I wanted to go on dates with girls. So I said,
Hmm.
all right, you know what'll make me happier is losing some weight. So I told everybody I had tried dieting before in private, you know, not telling anybody. But now I told everyone I knew, my female friends at school, my guy friends, the guys on my baseball team, I'm going to lose 80 pounds in 5 months by my birthday. And everyone was really supportive. I was able to run with a couple of my girlfriends who were on the cross country team after school because I couldn't keep up with the dudes. And in 5 months, I had lost 80 pounds
Wow.
because before I literally before I took every bite, I would go, all right, well, is this bite going to bring me closer to my goal, i.e., happier, or further from my goal, i.e., fatter?
Hmm.
And by doing it, you know, 80% of the time, doing it right, the system works. And then once it starts to work, it's easier to adhere to. And so at the end of that process, I realized, you know what? Anything a normal average person can do, I can do anything. I can figure it out. If it's an average person, you know, I'm average. I can do it too, and that confidence has served me well in my life and in my career. I think it's the foundation of being able to be a good improviser on stage. You know, you
Hmm.
walk on stage, you've got nothing in your head, ideally, completely blank, and you that can't make you nervous. It's got to make you excited because you're going to take in whatever the audience gives you and then you spit it back out, however you spit it out. So that confidence is what I try to impart to executives that I'm coaching or teams that
Hmm.
I'm coaching, and and you have to believe it, right? You're you've got a job, you're a capable person. Anything that realistically the person in this job should be able to do, you can probably do.
Yeah.
So live that. Don't be afraid every time you get a new assignment, or don't be timid to speak up at the creativity meeting or the ideation meeting and say the most off the wall thing. You know, lots of times, all the time, when you're trying to think out of the box, you need an off the wall thing. And
Yeah.
you need to be able to say whatever pops into your mind, knowing that if it's a really crappy idea, people will go, no, well, let's try something else, as opposed to mocking you for
Hmm.
saying something so ridiculous. And those are the uh, what do I want to call them? Traits and habits that you can teach people that if they practice, they actually enhance your daily happiness. And you know, as far as I know, this is not a dress rehearsal. Um, I want to be as happy as I can be every day, and if I do that, that's a win for me anyway.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
So you mentioned, you lost 80 pounds and you kind of just maintained your life in a way that you were super happy with and that was going to make you happy. So what do you do now to maintain your own wellness and happiness after all these years? What are your non-negotiables?
I play ice hockey 3 times a week. Here in California, I found a group of guys that love hockey as I do, and we play every Tuesday and Thursday at 11 a.m. And every time I step on the ice, I think to myself, there are so many people sitting behind their desk and miserable right now, and I'm goofing around at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday morning playing hockey. It's a great workout. It's really fun, and it's great for my head. Um, I only, you know, it's like I only do things that I enjoy. I wrote and produced an animated film that's coming out later this year. I'm getting into adult animation vertical shorts with we have a story about an alien ship that abducts people that I think is really funny. I've reached the point in my career where I only have to do stuff that interests and delights me. It's not that it's not hard work or a pain in the butt to be working at 1 a.m. on an edit or something, but it's always some sort of creative endeavor that I enjoy. I hate paying my bills every month. I hate doing my QuickBooks, but that's really, honestly, that is the only 90 minutes a month where I'm cranky.
Yeah.
The rest of the time, I'm perfect. Right, honey?
Yeah.
She said yes. I don't know if you could hear it.
I could hear it. I heard the right, honey. Yeah.
Did you really?
I did.
All right.
Yeah.
Good job, baby.
That was fantastic. Yeah. I mean, it really, especially at 11 a.m. on a Tuesday and Thursday, right? There are people at their desk who are
Most people.
Yes,
right?
most people, myself included. That's usually where I am. So
well, and in show business, there's no, unless you're on a sitcom, there's no schedule. There's no, oh, I'm going to be working. Jobs come and go.
yeah,
You're out. You work for a week. You don't work for 2 weeks. You have to be able to not freak out on the days when you're not making money at show business.
yeah,
And you need hobbies that feed your brain and feed your body, and you got to be cool you got to be chill with the cycle of life.
yeah.
People that are constantly stressed out and living up here are burnout.
Mm-hmm.
You see it all the time in business. They think they have to do all this stuff and survive, and they got to be the best, and they burn out. Okay, if you're a great employee and you burn yourself out, what good are you to me, the company? It behooves me and behooves you to take better care of yourself mentally, and don't work till 8 o'clock every night. Yeah, I could be doing stuff right now instead of talking to you, but this is enjoyable to me, and I'll do that stuff tomorrow, or I'll do it on Wednesday. Everything gets done. People, I don't think people realize they can choose to pursue happiness. Really, that's what it boils down to. I don't think people realize that is an option.
Yeah.
I got to go to school. I got to get a job. Got to feed my kids. I got to pay my mortgage. I got to be happy. Everything else falls into place if you're serving that goal. And I honestly, based on my experience, that never occurs to people. And I think that's a function of society and a lot of other things. But I'm just trying to do my best to tell them, yeah, you know what? You got the keys to your own life. Turn on the car.
Yeah. The happiness as a pillar that's a need for you, I think is probably quite foreign to a lot of people, but it's
right.
That's something that whenever you go to therapy, which I highly suggest everyone should do, plenty in their life is go to therapy. But if you got a good therapist, they're going to talk about you got to fill your own cup first. You have to make sure that you are fulfilled. You have to make sure that you find things you are passionate about as a parent, if you're a caregiver of some sort. But even if you're just, like you're saying, you got to get a job, you got to pay your bills, you got to do all this stuff. You do. You also have to be happy. You also have to find ways to be happy. And that doesn't mean you can quit your job and that's what makes you happy.
Right.
You still have to maintain all those things. But happiness as a pillar in your life is something that I definitely feel is very, very important.
And it should be the prime pillar.
Yeah.
Because you're going to pay your bills, you're going to do all that stuff anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So if you place yourself in a position where you're orienting your entire life towards happiness as the goal, all the other stuff falls in line and it becomes, ironically, easier to accomplish because you have your focus on the important stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you're focusing on happiness and maintaining that and searching for it and finding it and, curating happiness in your life. Because what makes me happy may not make you happy, mama. That's job one in life. Figure out what you like.
Yeah.
So one of the first things I ask when I'm doing a group thing is, when was the last time you were truly happy? What were you doing? Write it down. Text yourself. Okay. Another time you were truly happy. Text yourself. We look at those 10 texts, and if 7 of them are something that you never do more of that,
Yeah.
right? And if you do just absolutely despise your job, get a job doing something involved with those 7 things. Don't quit your job, work at night, interviewing and doing whatever you have to do to get the new job and then segue into it. But if you work 20 years at a job you hate, you pissed away 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all you have is money that you've already spent.
Right. Yeah, because it gets spent.
What's the point? Right. It's going to get spent either way.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're making $100 a week at a job that you hate, make $70 a week at a job that you love, and you'll be happier.
Yeah. Yeah. You brought up burnout, and I want to go back a little bit also because you this travel show that you had, you visited over 400 cities with this travel show, and that's when you started noticing this pattern of burnout. So how long did it take you in these travels to really notice this pattern of burned out teams, regardless of industry?
I kind of noticed the reverse of it. Most of the places that we went to on Taste of America were mom and pop restaurants and attractions around the country.
Mm-hmm.
We would do 3 different cities in every half-hour episode. And the one common trait I noticed, especially from restaurateurs and like cooks, not necessarily, fancy schmancy chefs, but the woman that's been making red bean gravy in the back of this kitchen in Clarksdale, Mississippi for 30 years, is they were all happy people, pleasing type people, huggers, people that hug. Restaurateurs, it's a horribly difficult job. You're not going to get rich doing it. So what the benefit you get from being a mom and pop restaurateur is you're feeding people.
Yeah.
Right? You are what you eat. You're actually keeping people alive with your grandma's recipe for meatballs or whatever your specialty is. And the kind of person that can derive happiness from the providing of that comfort and, the best fish and chips I ever had, you got to go to Jimmy's. The best fried chicken I ever had, it's at Coop's in New Orleans. You sit at a bar with a cranky waitress and you have the best fried chicken you've ever had in your life. Those kinds of people are different than guys that work in finance. They just are. I'm not saying better or worse, but they're different. And they seemed to me to be content and happy people. Some of them were extremely wealthy. Some of them were just getting by, but they were all digging their life. And it made me realize that, again, the most important thing is figuring out what makes you happy and doing it. And the only way to do that is to try a bunch of stuff that you end up not liking. Mm-hmm. And you cross it off your list, right? You would not be podcasting this long if you freaked out every time you did it and you hated it and you didn't like seeing yourself or hearing yourself. And I say stupid stuff and these podcasts you wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
And I hope you're making a great living doing it, but you're not just Bezos. I'm assuming now you're doing it from your pink cave or purple cave.
That's right.
Because you enjoy it and it gives you something that you don't get doing something else.
Yeah, 100%.
True?
100%.
Okay. So how do you put a monetary value on that?
Yeah.
And why bother?
Mm-hmm.
Put a happiness value on it.
I like the happiness value on that too. Yeah, doing this show is one of those things that it's the way that I kind of put it to people is it's one of my non-negotiables. Like this is something that I will do until I can't do it anymore because it's something that I'm passionate about. It's something that it makes me happy. Now, do I love doing all the editing and listening to myself over and over when I'm trying to chop everything up? No.
Right.
But
why did I say that?
Yeah, right? Why can't I get that sentence out? Like it's fine. It's all right. We'll just edit it. I get tired of hearing my own voice when I'm doing the editing. But is it something that is enjoyable to me when I'm doing it? 100%. Does it bring me happiness? Even all the prep and everything leading up to it? Absolutely love it. It's fantastic. Yeah, I like assigning kind of a happiness value to it. That's a good way to put that. I like that.
That's your purpose. You found your purpose
Yeah.
in this realm, right?
Yeah.
I know you have a family and other things, but for your communications life, your work life, you found your purpose and you're lucky. And you probably found it because you tried a bunch of other stuff that didn't work or
Yeah.
didn't feed you the same way that this feeds you. Some people get lucky and the first thing they try, they end up being great at and
Hmm.
enjoy. But most people don't. You got to kiss a lot of frogs to find the thing that makes you happy. I hate cruise ships. Don't like the sensation of being on a boat. I love flying. I'll fly anywhere. It doesn't make me nervous, but boats sink and sharks eat you. Not interested. And I learned that a long time ago. So it's like, all right, well, I'm not going to be in the Navy. I'm not going to be a ship's captain. I can cross all that stuff off my list and focus on something else.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I mean, I feel like uh, life probably brought me to this point, and I had to go through a lot of frog situations to get to where I am, and to be passionate about the things that I am passionate about. There were a lot of things that I had to go through and kind of experience in life to get here. And do I wish I could have just gotten here without that? Sure, yeah. But here we are, and sometimes you have to make the best of a situation that you're in. So,
Yeah,
no,
and every situation, you know, changes you.
yes,
And every trial and tribulation that you survive, it's a cliche, it makes you stronger, but it also gives you more insight into what makes you happy and what doesn't make you happy. And
hmm,
also, if it's a really hard trial or tribulation and you survive it, it gives you more confidence. You're like, you know what, that was horrible, but here I am. I'm still kicking, I'm still alive, and I'm still doing what I want to do.
yep,
So, some people go through life seeing every sling and arrow and adopting like a victimhood posture. I think that's an aspect of fear, and I don't think it serves you.
yeah.
Yeah, the world's cruel. No one really cares about you outside of your friends and family. That's the way it is. Don't worry about it. You got friends, you got family.
Yeah. Now, we're talking about happiness and jobs and careers and doing things that bring you joy. But folks talk about job satisfaction a lot too. Are job satisfaction and happiness, is that the same thing? Like if you're satisfied with your job, is that happiness, or do you draw a distinction between those two?
I think it's an aspect of it. I mean, obviously, uh, people ask me about show business. I work for free. You're paying me for auditioning and for studying and for doing all the prep I have to do to get the job. Being on set with Seinfeld or Larry David or Tracy Ullman or whoever, the restaurateurs, that's fun. I would do it for free. It's all the other crap you're paying me for. And
Mm-hmm.
it's the same thing in in life, I think. You have to have some sort of job, right? You have to do something to make a living. So why not find that something that you at least marginally enjoy? And if you marginally enjoy it, you'll be marginally good at it. But if you find something that you thoroughly enjoy, a guaranteed 100% you will be better at it because of that.
Yeah.
If you really dig what you're doing, you're going to be better than the person who's doing it for a paycheck every time, all the time. So spend when you're young or when you're changing careers or when you're miserable, put your time and effort into finding something like podcasting for you, something that makes you feel good, that you enjoy, that you would do for free.
Yeah.
Don't tell people that. That would be a big mistake to tell them that. But I mean, you're going to work. Why choose to do something that you makes you grind your teeth and you hate driving there every morning?
Yeah.
Why do that? That's dumb. And you know why people do it? Because they're afraid to change. They're afraid to figure out what they really love to do. And again, fear is always and only self-destructive. Don't be afraid. Be fearless. It's as far as we know, it's our one life, right? I'm a
Yep.
day older than I was yesterday, and that day's not coming back. So, be people use the term, I'm going to spend time here. It's exactly what you're doing. You can always make more money to spend, but you get X amount of days to spend in your lifetime. Why spend them purposefully doing stuff you don't like? It just
Yeah.
doesn't, it irritates me that
Hmm.
people do it because it seems so nonsensical to me. And I realize you've got spouses and kids and obligations. We all have obligations. You can have obligations and a job that makes you feel good. They're not mutually exclusive.
Yeah. I was just going to say, do you feel like some of these statements come with a lot of privilege to them? The privilege to be able to pursue different things, or sometimes folks might feel like they're stuck doing what they're doing, and that they have the
No,
obligations around them are kind of forcing them into a situation. What would you say to that?
I understand that, and I
Mhm.
understand that feeling, and I've had that feeling myself. But it doesn't matter. You have to work to make money. So if you're doing a job that you hate, find a better one. And
Mm.
if you don't hate it enough to expend the extra energy you need to find something better, then you don't hate it.
Yeah.
And you're just you're allowing your life to drip away one day at a time because you're too fearful to look for something better and to demand something better for yourself. It's really that simple. I get it. It's hard. You can't quit your job.
Yeah.
You've got a mortgage and you've got kids and you've got medical bills. I'm not saying quit your job. I'm saying work your 9 to 5 and then from 6 to 9 every night be on LinkedIn looking for jobs, calling your friends, scouring the internet to go. Before you do all that, figure out what you want to do, figure out what makes you happy, and then figure out ways to get from where you are to doing that for a living. And that takes time, it takes persistence, and it's like a detective job.
Yeah.
So it's not easy, but it's not hard, and it's if the choice is being miserable, it's a pretty clear choice for me. And then once you're in the better job, then you got more spare time, you're happier, everything works out. But if you don't even try, what you're telling yourself is, I'm not worth it.
Mm.
I'll just be miserable and I'll pay the bills and everyone else around me could be okay, but I'm not worth it. And you know what? If you think you're not worth it, you're not.
Mm.
So think that you're worth it, and you are. That probably sounds like a bunch of doublespeak, but it's so, uh, I found it to be true,
Yeah.
right? Every idea, everything in your life that you currently have starts with an idea in your head, a thought in your head. You're wearing your green nail polish because at some point in the last couple of weeks, you decided, I'm going to paint my nails green. And
Hmm.
now that reality exists, right? I decided to go into comedy because at one point I thought, you know what? I want to be, I want to sleep late, work in clubs at night, and make people laugh. And I figured out a way to make that happen. Um, Everybody can do that. The first step is finding your purpose, finding what makes your heart and your soul sing and makes you happy. And then once you figure that out, once you know, oh, I want to be a botanist, I want to be a sculptor, I want to be an iron worker, then you figure out the math to make it work, how you get from where you are to there. And that's just, you got the internet. When I was a little kid, we had to go to the library to look crap up.
Yeah.
Now it's, you get it in a second. So there's no excuse for not trying other than, eh, I'm afraid, I don't want to, I'm tired. Okay, it's your life,
Yeah.
but understand that you have the power to change it if you decide to exercise that power. And if you don't, that's on you. It's not on the world.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure a lot of that thinking comes back to fear, really. Fear of
It's
one
all fear.
thing. Yeah, fear of one thing or another, and maybe it's fear of failure is probably a big one for a lot of
Sure.
folks. But yeah.
But if you're not
I
failing, you're not trying hard enough.
Yeah, yeah. And there's nothing wrong with failing either. Like there's you can fail. I failed at a lot of things in my life. It's fine. I'm still here.
Well, let me ask you this. When have you learned more generally? When you succeed at something or when you failed at something?
Definitely when I failed at something. Definitely.
Right?
Yeah.
When I started out doing stand up in clubs, the demarcation between success and failure was really easy to hear.
Yeah.
You try a joke 3 times, and if it dies every time, get a better joke.
Yep. Yep.
And that's really the metaphor for life. You got to keep trying, and if it doesn't work, change it around a little bit. But don't give up. Don't give up on yourself, and don't be afraid to fail.
Yeah.
Failing is, essential to growth and learning and figuring it out.
Yeah. I want to make sure to let folks in the chat know that if y'all have any questions, you're free to ask them, just like Rose is doing. Rose would like to know how we're
I would
both
love
doing.
that.
Yeah, Rose would like to know how we're both doing today, and I'll go ahead and just say I'm doing great. It's a Monday. Start to a new week is sometimes daunting, but for me, it means that I get to come here and do this on Monday, so it's pretty good here. How about you, Mark?
I'm doing really well, Rose. I'm enjoying the World Baseball Classic. I'm hoping it's going to be Italy and the United States tomorrow for the championship. It's getting warm here in California, and I gave my dog a bath yesterday, so he smells good. It's a good day.
I love that. I wish my dogs would let me give them baths, but they hate baths. So I get the mobile groomer to come out and do that.
Well, you have big dogs.
Yes, they are massive. They are massive dogs. I think the smallest dog is probably 90 pounds. And
When your dogs are bigger than you, maybe you need a van.
I know the biggest dog he's probably, I wouldn't be surprised if next time we take him to the vet, he's 130 pounds. That would not shock me. He's massive. He's huge.
Wow.
So getting back to kind of the wellness programs of things, when you tell a CFO that wellness programs pay for themselves, like that's a big statement. What's the ROI on that? What's the timeline they should be looking at? And does the size of company matter?
No, the general process is what matters. And there's tons of research, and I touch on that when I'm talking to a new client. But typically, the ROI on money spent on wellness programs is 300 to 500%. And
Wow.
where that comes from is if an employee is happy with their job, there's less quittiness, I call it. They're not looking for another job. They're not going to quit. Costs a lot of money to find someone, to train them, and then if they leave, you got to do that process again.
Yeah.
It's much more cost effective to find someone, train them, make them happy, and then they stay with your company for years. Also, if someone's been with your company for 10, 15, 20 years, the institutional knowledge that they have in their head that's not in your manuals is invaluable. And they pass that on to the next generation of new people coming in. And that's how you build a culture in a company. That's how you build. Have you ever met anyone that works at Costco or Trader Joe's that doesn't love their job? Maybe those are California stores, but I don't know anybody that works at those two places that doesn't love their job because the companies take care of them and people stay there 20 or 30 years. Another way that these programs make money for the companies is if you love your job, you will be better at it.
Mm-hmm.
Full stop. There's tons of research that demonstrates that. You'll work harder, you're more focused, you have more ownership and pride in the work product. You're better at communicating with your team members. So all the team members' abilities and productivity is raised, and you're better at your job. Whatever you're doing it at a higher rate of proficiency, which leads to more profits. You're keeping people in the company working not necessarily harder, but working better and more productively for longer periods of time. And when you add all that up, it's ridiculously one-sided data. I could show you graphs, I could cite scholarly papers on it, but I think it should makes sense human nature wise, right? If you're doing something that you like doing, you're going to be better at it. You're going to do it longer, as opposed to, if you hate your job, you don't quit when you hate your job. What have we been talking about? If you hate your job, you spend months looking for a better job. And while you're looking for a better job, you're putting even less proficiency into your current job. Mm-hmm. So not only are people quitting sooner, not only are they miserable at work, not only is the morale in your office crap, but you're getting less productivity out of people because they're already out the door, right? Mentally, they're already gone. So it's a matter of, and above, the best thing about it is it's good for people, mm-hmm. right? It's good for the person, and even if you don't care, if you're the boss and you don't care altruistically at all about the health of your workers, you're still making more money. So you can pretend that you care about them.
So,
It's win-win. It's the only win-win
yeah,
in business.
if there's no downside, what keeps companies from doing it?
Because it sounds silly.
Mm,
You're going to pay me to come in and talk to your people, for a couple days or a week or something, and my basic message is be happier. I don't. Why do they need to be happy? I'm paying them to work. I think that's the basic idea. And I also think people are C-suite people, leaders may not be completely aware of the connection between the money spent and the value extracted from that money.
mm,
Um, it's better financially, and it's better altruistically, and it's like your people are happier,
hmm.
and this is a capitalist society, thank God. So if you can triumph as a capitalist and as a humanitarian, why wouldn't you aspire to do that? It literally
Yeah.
costs you nothing other than opening your mind and you know letting people grow. Now, during this process, a certain percentage of your workers are going to figure out this is not the place for me,
Hmm.
right? And they are going to leave. But that also is good for you, the business owner, because you got someone who's not going to be as good at their job as the people who want to be there. So let them go and find whatever they're going to do. And you bring in someone who you recruit more carefully and train more thoroughly, and they become a part of the long term team. And then the people that leave, hopefully, have left because they realized, this isn't for me, but now I know what is for me. I'm going to go chase that. So really, on a human level, it's better for everybody, the people that go and the people that stay. On a financial level, it's better for the company and for the people. If you're better at your job, you're going to stick around longer. And if you stick around longer, you're going to get raises, and you're going to make more money 2 years from now than you're making today. I always pose this question. I'm like, all right, someone please. Did not take business classes in college. Poke a hole in this for me. What am I missing? And nobody to date has.
Yeah.
If there's someone in the chat that can explain to me what I'm saying is wrong, I would love to know about it.
Yeah, prove us wrong for sure. So it's kind of the opposite question. What about companies who hear this of like, oh, we have to have a wellness program, and then they put an employee wellness program just to kind of check a box? Is there still a benefit whether or not they're just trying to check a box or whether they actually care? Does that make a difference?
Well, it depends on who you bring in to do the work.
Mm,
You don't, like I said, you don't really have to care about the emotional well-being of your employees. Just know that these programs will make them more productive. Ideally, you
mm,
want both, right? You want a leader who actually cares about the people
yeah.
working underneath them. But if they don't, if they're just checking boxes and it works, who's losing out? They're losing out. They could have new friends or, better friendships that they don't really care about because they don't really care about their people. And, there are successful people like that. But as long as they're bringing in the right programs, not obviously not just me, other people that work in this same space and understand the same basic themes and ideas. That's the beauty of it. It doesn't,
Hmm.
there's no, typically everything else in business, there's opposing forces. There's labor and management. There's, and between the friction of the two, you come to a happy middle ground. There's no downside to adopting this as a MO.
Yeah.
They're just, again, if someone can tell me one, I'd love to hear it, but I've not discovered one. It makes you feel good and makes you more money.
Yeah. I could definitely see people pointing to like a big company with a shitty culture and saying, well, they do fine. They're very profitable. All of these things, they're doing okay, but everyone who works for them kind of doesn't like their job and all of this stuff. But like, imagine if they had one. Imagine if they had a good wellness program. How much
They would be
better?
more profitable.
Right.
They would be more profitable, and people would like working there better.
Yeah.
And when a position came open, they would say, hey, my cousin Johnny needs a job. You should get him in here because he's really great. Or it becomes, it's a team mentality in the truest sense
Hmm.
of the word, right? I've played on team sports my whole life, baseball and hockey. And there's a mentality when you're on a team, you take one for the team. If they
Mm,
want you to bunt in the ninth inning instead of hitting a home run, you do it if it's for the betterment of the team. And if you are focused on making your team healthy and productive and well, you win all
yeah.
the time,
Yeah.
all the time. And if you're not, you could be succeeding, you could be making a lot of money, but I guarantee you that if you also were serious about wellness and happiness, you'd make more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is there one big mistake that companies usually make when they're trying to address burnout, or the biggest mistake companies make when they're trying to address burnout in their employees?
Yeah, they think I'll give you an extra day off and you'll have, you go, give you an extra 2 days off a year, or we'll throw a taco party on the last Tuesday of every month, and that'll make people happy. It's burnout comes from essentially people being afraid of losing their jobs,
Mm,
is what it boils down to. I'm going to work extra hard and make sure everyone sees me working extra hard because I don't want to get fired. I may be doing more motion, but I'm not being necessarily more productive. And you can only operate at that adrenaline fueled high pitch for a certain amount of time before you physically and mentally break down. There's a lot of research that also shows that happy people, the brain functions 31% more effectively. When you are frightened and scared and you're being chased by a lion, all you care about is getting away from the lion, right? Now, once the lion is gone, you can look around and go, oh, look, there's a banana tree. Oh, there's a 7-Eleven. I could go in there and get a Slurpee. Your brain can function and take in more input and make
hmm
better decisions. You're not making crisis decisions. You're making more considered, thoughtful, I can really ruminate on this idea and come up with a good solution thinking. And that thinking is always better. And the happier you are, the it's biochemical. The endorphins and the serotonin and dopamine gets released in your brain. You're more creative, you're more productive, and you're more effective at whatever you're doing because you're not freaking out. So if you're freaking out from 9 a.m. on Monday morning till Friday at 6, you're not you're working 30% as effectively as you could be if you were more chill. And the way to become more chill is being a job that you enjoy doing and know that you're capable of. And if you're not, it's up to you to find something to do like that. And that's the difficult part. That's the hard part. To figure out what your purpose is. You're lucky, Mama. You
hmm
figured out podcasting is your thing. I'm lucky. I figured out, not lucky is not the right word. I'm sure you tried a bunch of other things before you landed on this. So it's diligence and it's persistence and it's, oh man, this isn't right for me. It's close. I dated a lot of girls before I found my wonderful Cuban wife. And I say wonderful Cuban wife because the Cubans are good with knives. Um, and my thought process was I was a serial monogamist. I would always date the woman until either I knew I could marry her or knew that I couldn't marry her.
mm,
And at that point, even if you're still connected with them, listen, I don't think this is going to go any further. It's the best for both of us. I got to tell you that. And then you talk, and then whatever happens, happens.
yeah.
So I always tried to pursue that as honestly and whatever honestly as possible. And it
hmm
doesn't work out. That's what dating is. It's a trial run.
Yeah.
So if people would put the same amount of effort that they put into dating sites into finding a job that makes them happy and makes them fulfilled, they'd be better off, in my opinion. And people don't, like we were talking about before, I don't think they realize that that's their decision to make and that they have the
hmm
power to do it. They don't even conceive of that as an option. It's just like, oh, no one told me I could do that.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned stress and stressful jobs and that you're functioning better if you're not as stressed. What about jobs that are inherently stressful? Air traffic controller, or you're an ER nurse or something like that. Can a wellness program help with those types of jobs as well? Or are
Yes.
those, because there are a lot of nurses that are really passionate about their job. They love their job. There's a lot of doctors love their job, but they are truly in an inherently stressful situation. So is a wellness program the right answer for those types of things
Yeah,
as well?
that's an excellent point, Mama. Yes, and those people that you're saying they love their jobs. They know they're
Yeah.
stressful. Because I do cartoons, I do a lot of um, benefit activities for Children's Hospital. And you want to talk a stressful job? Go into a NICU unit
Yes.
and see the people that are working there with babies that are this big. It's inspiring and horrific at the same time. So yes, those jobs are stressful. However, those people that flourish in those environments, they love it.
Yeah.
And that's their thing, that's their purpose. It is stressful though. So
Hmm.
what you do for those people is you do exercises and team building and events that let them cut loose and improvise and maybe put on a little show or paint or do something that is just shut that off for a couple hours. We're going to go and have this fun. And you're going to meet some friends outside of the medical community, outside of the women or the men that work in your ER room. You're going to broaden your circle of friends so that when you need to get away and just get a coffee with a painter or your butcher or whoever it happens to be, you have release valves where you can just go shake it off and come back and fight another day. Because, a loss when you're a nurse is it, it's a profound loss.
Yeah.
And you can't, oh, it's no big deal. It'll be fine tomorrow. It won't. And
Hmm.
you have to develop a system to deal with that. And I don't know how they do it. It's would not be possible for me. But and there is a higher burnout rate in those jobs.
For sure.
But you can ameliorate that a little bit by giving them places to go that aren't stressful, that they enjoy going, things to do.
Sorry, my audio has cut out. Are you able to hear me? You can hear me? Okay. 1 second. My audio has just stopped working. Let me see what's going on here. I can't hear you. Let's see. Let me pop over here. Come over here. Make sure this is still connected. That's still looking good. Uh, this is showing. Yeah. Oh, maybe. Okay. All right. Let's see. Can you still hear me though? You can still hear me. Would you mind switching your mic back to the other mic and see if we can just swap it and swap it back, and maybe that'll fix it. Because it looks like Riverside's registering you as speaking, but it's definitely not coming through. But I'm testing my audio on my laptop or on my computer, and it's working okay. I think there's a chat functionality also if you want to type, or you can write it though. It's fine, whichever way we need to do it. It's all good. Let me see if I can. All right, let's see. Can you hear me? You can hear me. I might still not be able to hear you. Let's. Oh, it won't let you change your mic. Oh, interesting. Okay, let me see if I can stop recording and if it'll let you change your mic then. Okay, hold on 1 second. Let me stop the recording on this. And then that'll upload. Let's see. Okay. Now see if it'll let you swap your mic.
Swapped it to the Bose.
Okay, I can hear you.
Me?
I can hear you on the Bose. You want to see if you can swap it back to the other one?
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, there it is. There it is.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay,
That's weird.
let me try.
Okay.
Let me hit record again here and see if we can just get it right back on track. That's wild. I haven't had that happen before on Riverside. So, okay. All right. Apologies. Apologies, but I mean, I'll just kind of try and pick us up back where we were talking about the inherently stressful jobs and people who love their jobs, and it's definitely one of those things where if you can get them some support, and that's how I view these wellness and well-being programs, is you're supporting your people, you're supporting your teams, and whether that's something that you're able to do in a super stressful situation or in something that's not as inherently stressful, like the stress isn't always built in to these kinds of jobs. There's got to be benefits to doing that either way, for sure.
Yeah, and you are supporting them, but you're also supporting and improving the productivity of your enterprise.
Yes.
That's what the data clearly shows. So even if you're not a bleeding heart humanitarian who really cares about everybody that works for you, your selfish behavior still benefits people. If you choose to behave selfishly, it's still supporting and benefiting your people. So there's no force pushing back against these programs. You know, you can't say, yeah, but it's nice for the people, but it's costing us 5% of our gross. It's not.
Right.
There's no, like we said before, I am not aware of any good reason not to embrace it as a cultural enhancement or shift for every company. And healthcare, places like that need it probably more than others.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great point too. Like those stressful jobs are the ones that really, really need it, especially since their rate of burnout is baked in a little bit higher anyway. So
firemen, policemen, healthcare, doctors, nurses are essential people, right? And when things go wrong for those people, the consequences are dire for a lot of people, right? If I tell a joke that doesn't work, who cares? The consequences of my failure in my profession are zero compared to those people. Yet people in show business are stressed out all the time. Everyone gets stressed. Life isn't easy. There's no plan. You're improvising from the minute you're born to the minute you die. But that's the game. Those are the rules. So you can bitch about them, or you could play the game.
Yeah.
And try and play it and be happy.
Yep. Now, we kind of talked about this a little bit at the very beginning, but one of the things that you say is that creativity is teachable and can be monetized. Can you talk a little bit more about what you mean by that?
Yes. Improvisation is a gateway to creativity. It opens up your mind. It teaches the practice of improving and being fearless, which is the bedrock of improvisation, allows you to think outside the box and dream up stuff that you wouldn't necessarily think of. I think one big impediment to creativity over the last 10 years is everyone has their face buried in their phone all the time. I see people crossing a crosswalk, staring at their phone, and all I would have to do, and I must admit I do this sometimes if I'm in a cranky mood, make sure the car's in park and rev the engine, and that gets their attention. People don't, it used to be if you got someplace early, you sat there without headphones, without your phone, and you looked around. And you played with a dog, or you talked to a stranger walking by, or you interacted with your world. Now, no one is ever outside of their bubble, right? If you're walking to work, if you're driving to work, whatever, you've got your headphones on, you got your phone, you're reading your email. There's no time for just random daydreaming thinking. And that's where creativity comes from. So the first step in leveling up creativity is giving yourself the time and space to do nothing. If you have a dog, go for a walk without your headphones on. Go to the store, talk to the butcher, talk to your neighbors, goof off, interact with the world, and you get new input and ideas, and it sparks creativity. So you have to have not necessarily quiet time, but unplugged time that gives your brain time to think and interact with the world. And by instituting time every day to do that, you get into that habit and your brain starts to work in that way. And then there are techniques we can teach that up-level creativity. If you're trying to solve a problem that no one's been able to solve because they're going at the problem like this, come in through the window. Don't go in through the front door. Think outside, that term, I use it too often, I know, thinking outside the box, but it's a really great metaphor because all the ideas in the box have already been thought of. So if you want to innovate, if you want to do something new, you've got to go outside the box. So one exercise I do is I'll pose a problem and I'll go, all right, we're going to go around the room. I want to hear everyone's dumbest solution. Think of the absolute dumbest, wrongest solution you can to this problem. Go. And by the time we get around the circle, there will invariably be a couple pieces that you can synthesize from 2 or 3 things that becomes a good idea. So and certainly just like senses of humor and tallness and everything else, everyone is differently abled on the creativity scale, right? Albert Einstein and Mark Twain are at the top of the scale. But everyone's on the scale, and you can always raise your number if you just take the time and have the desire to do it. Take a class, take a pottery class, take an acting class, a writing class, do something that makes you feel good, that when you're done with it, there's something that wasn't there before. A woodworking class. I love like making stuff.
Yeah.
I designed and built a system to dry all my ice hockey stuff, hooked to a fan on pipes and everything, and it works great.
Yeah.
And it's functional for me. But daydream, think stuff, and create the space and the time for you to do it, and the benefits accrue over time.
Yeah.
You get more confidence.
My 12-year-old hates when I bring this up, but boredom has been studied quite a bit. You need to be bored. And the more bored you are, the more your brain is actually accessing parts of your brain that it doesn't normally access. And so sometimes because I put limits on his technology, and he can only spend a certain amount of time on on the various, he has a huge amount of technology, so he has different limits on all kinds of stuff. And then he'll run out of time, and I'm like, that's fine. Be bored.
Get on your bike.
Or tell me you're bored and I'm going to give you chores to do.
Right. That's always cruel.
Yeah, that's another one.
Right?
Yeah, it works because you're putting away dishes. You're doing something routine. Your brain is not thinking about that. It's thinking about other things. So it's you're still kind of getting that. But yeah, I mean,
but you're right. Boredom is another word for finding the space with nothing. Right.
Yes.
And then you have a choice to sit there and be grumpy that you're bored, or your brain starts to work and you start to think of stuff that you've never had the bandwidth to think of before.
Yeah.
So it's the necessity is the mother of invention. If you got nothing going on, your brain necessarily has to do something, and it creates stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's that daydreaming piece too. You're giving yourself the time to improv things in your own head and with the world around you. But even if you're just sitting there and being bored, your brain is working behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm. But that's the starting place. You gotta be bored.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. My 12-year-old absolutely hates it when I bring that up, but I bring it up quite a bit with him because that's my one who gets bored a lot.
All right. He will thank you for it.
Yeah, eventually. One day he will, I'm sure. Well, we are coming up on our last couple of questions. So folks who are here with us, feel free to ask any questions in the chat if you have any. But Mark, I would love to know, what is your favorite life hack?
We've talked about it. Happiness. Making every decision based on, will this make me happier or less happy? Big things, little things, everything. Yeah. And if you take a moment to contemplate that before you make decisions, you start racking up a happier life, because those are the decisions. And it's not, what will make me, I've turned down jobs that would have made me a lot of money because I didn't really want to do them. I didn't see it as like the best use of my skill set. It wouldn't be fun. I try and do things that I think will be fun because I enjoy fun. Fun makes me happy. So that's my hack. My hack is find your purpose, find your thing, find your podcasting, find the thing that you're happy doing.
Yeah.
And there are a variety of ways to assess that and figure that out, but you've got to put in the energy to figure it out. And then once you figure it out, that's your goal. That is your goal, your North Star. Orient your life around that.
I love that. Well, it is time for the magic moment of the stream. If you could wave a magic wand and eliminate one common opinion or misconception surrounding mental health, what would it be?
I don't know a lot of common misconceptions around mental health. I guess people need to realize that they have to take time to tend to their mental health. And mental health to me is somewhat of an off-putting but language. It's not mental health. It's literally happiness, right? It's what makes me happier than something else. Because if you don't tend to that, nobody will. So if there's a stigma to mental health, if there's, it's silly, I'm a businessman, I don't care about mental health, you should. And when you do, you'll know why.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to post your social links and your website one more time for folks who weren't here at the beginning to grab them so that they have a way to get in there and connect with you. And while I'm doing that, I'm just going to turn it over to you. Anything we didn't get to mention or talk about, or anything you want to throw out there, feel free.
First of all, it's been a really fun time talking to you, Mama. Very wide-ranging. You ask really good questions.
Thank you.
And I can tell just from talking to you that you are really good at this. And I think you're good at it because you dig it, right? You 100%. Like it. And it fills you in some way that doing other stuff doesn't. And so I salute you for finding your purpose and finding your mojo. And I encourage anyone who's listening or watching this to respect yourself enough to realize that you have that choice to make, that you should go out. If you don't have it yet, go out and find it. And it changes as you go through life. What made me happy as a 15-year-old, I don't chase as hard now that I'm not 15 anymore. I'm 17. So always be checking in with yourself and be brutally honest with yourself and value yourself enough to realize that you deserve to be happy. You certainly deserve to pursue happiness. There's
Hmm.
no guarantee. The world is a cruel place that doesn't really care about you. But there are people in this world that do care about you. So surround yourself with them and, you ignore the rest of the world. Not everybody can love you. Take it from someone who's told jokes to rooms filled with people who ultimately ended up not loving him.
Well, I appreciate that advice for sure. And 488 says, thanks for sharing. I will echo that as well. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing your energy and your evening with us. And just for being here. I really appreciate it.
Ditto. It was really great. I'm glad you invited me, and I'm glad we got this scheduled. And it was really a pleasure to talk about all this stuff. I think it's important, and good on you for spreading the word. That's very important. You're doing God's work there.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Well, folks who are here with us, stick around. I'm going to disconnect with Mark and I will be right back. Don't go anywhere.